These Roblox games are considered haunted, but is this true? Today we'll be testing 5 of these so-called haunted games to see if they're really haunted. This is going to be a good one. Starting off with Rooms, and this one has some crazy stories about it. The game is similar to Doors, as you just open a series of doors or exploring different types of rooms. But there's a lot more to this simple concept. The game is said to be haunted, with players reporting seeing other people walking around when there's no one else on the server. But even crazier, some people hear random breathing sounds which don't exist in the audio. Could this be true? I jumped in to find out. The game is pretty boring. You just open a series of doors, but as I kept going, it started actually getting scary. The rooms were pretty normal at first, but there were always lockers to hide in. But hide from what? I felt like someone was watching me, but like everyone else, there was no one on the server. As I kept opening door after door, it got darker and darker, until the chill game at the start became a horror game. Rooms started getting weirder as I was now over the 50s on the doors, and the eerie vibe intensified. This is when it got super creepy. I opened door 69, and after around 15 minutes of gameplay, that's when my screen turned red and I just died watching my own skeleton. What just happened? The rooms around me turned grey and I was trapped in room 69. Honestly, I didn't know what happened at the end there, but there is something in this game that definitely feels haunted. Next, we have Sutar Stories, and the myths linked to this game are even more scary than Rooms. This was originally a meme game, but it is now known to be a lot more than just that. In the game, you are taken through a story of tragedy and death, involving the main character, Sutar, which we'll get into later. Some files of the game seem to be corrupt, with some players having different, more violent endings, depending on who is playing. But could this be true? Is this truly a haunted game? I had to find out for myself. The story is surprisingly really entertaining, so go get your popcorn. It starts off with a terrible accident where Sydney is holding her friend Sutar, who's about to fall to his death. This panics the entire family, consisting of Sydney's 2 sisters, brother, 2 grandparents, and her dad, which is narrating the whole story. Remember this for later, as you'll need to know the whole family to follow along with the story. But it becomes a lot worse. Sydney ends up falling, breaking her leg, while Grandpa is just asking for food.
You need to leave!
After the accident, all hell breaks loose. The brother randomly dies while the grandpa trips on his head. He deserves that, not gonna lie. I'm just gonna lay in bed with him. While all this happens, Sutar takes his friend, Sydney, to his aunt's house to get help. And this is when we see Sydney's dad. He previously left for the milk, but now he wants to help Sydney. But Sutar won't let him. Now with Grandpa and Sydney's brother in the hospital, it gets creepy. It turns out the brother was poisoned by Sutar and he ends up dying. But before we continue, I have to lay on Grandpa's bed. Anyway, the police and Sydney's dad now don't waste any time and try to take Sydney from Sutar. But he isn't even Sutar. His name is Lloyd, and he isn't even a bacon hair. He killed Sydney's friend Sutar to get to her. Yeah, this story is messed up. But 6 months later, Sydney reunites with her dad and happily ever after happens. Except for the fact that her brother is dead. Just ignore that part. But now the question is this story haunted? No, it is a very well made, scary story, but there's no way it's haunted. But I don't know if I can say the same thing for the next game. Vault 8166. This mysterious game is set in a vault where some weird things happen. Lights flicker, doors open randomly, and most importantly, random entities appear. But I can't trust random redditors, so it's time to find out for myself. Immediately as I joined in, it felt very creepy. It was dark and eerie, but thankfully I met a few friends that were trying to find an entity. I think they were trying to find the same entity that all those people were mentioning. But I'm not sticking around until they find it. I'm out of that creepy face room. But even when I tried to escape from all the horror, two people named System Breaker cornered me. It was getting creepy. I had to ask them one question. Where is the entity? No response. After that, I left because I was way too scared. So is it haunted? Hell yes. Did you see those two random people named System Breaker? What the hell is that? I'm never going into that vault again. But next up we have Chuck Lloyd's Place. This game is known to have many scary myths attached to it. But the most common is the fact that Chuck is watching you. I had to find out if this was true, but I couldn't find any game that was named Chuck Lloyd's Place. All I saw was Chuck E. Cheese, so I just joined one of them to see if there was anything suspicious. When I joined, it was already eerie, but that's when I saw Sonic. I followed him into Chuck E. Cheese, and it was pretty similar to Five Nights at Freddy's, and it was just as scary. Sonic now disappeared, and I started exploring the building, trying to see if Chuck was watching me. That's when I saw him. He was just casually working, so I just went up to him to ask if the game was actually haunted, and he said no. Case closed, time to leave. On the way out, I saw a chicken jockey, and it may have got pretty weird, but at least it's not haunted. Let's go. This is by far the scariest game on our list. This game is known to be haunted by a ghost girl who committed suicide from being bullied. And already by looking at the game, I know it's going to be scary. But is it really haunted? I had to find out. When I joined in, it was very creepy. I was on a small dark island with some random text from another language. I'll have to translate it into English, I guess. The other language somehow made this game more scary. I don't know how you could make this more scary. I was actually shaking while playing this game. Randomly, a girl would pop up in front of you. It almost gave me a heart attack. I was getting teleported around and I kept seeing the ghost girl randomly. Could it be the girl that committed suicide? I ended up leaving because it was that scary, but the game could be haunted. Anyway, that's all the games. If you want to see more content, click on one of these videos and make sure to avoid some of these haunted games, especially the last one.